Hey everybody, this is Linda Misegadis, and you're listening to An Unconventional Guide to Success, the show that talks about real life with real people for those of you who are interested in learning from others the steps they took on their journey towards success as defined by them. Welcome to An Unconventional Guide to Success. So good to see you in the studio again today, Scott. How are you?
Linda, I'm doing great. Always a pleasure to see you. We've got 70
Always
degrees
good
and
to
sunny
see you.
here in DC today.
I know it's beautiful here in Colorado as well. I think we're in the mid 60s. It is a little windy, but it is but it is still very nice, which
We'll
is,
take it, right?
Yeah, take this warm weather while it lasts because it will get cold. So we're very happy to have Micheal in the studio with us today. Micheal, how's the weather there in Georgia?
It's pretty cloudy, but it's not in the 70s like you mentioned, but it's okay. It's
Yeah.
good weather, you know.
No.
Is it a good day for a run? Good day for a run?
Yeah. I went running during the rain last week, so I had to do it.
I don't blame you. Running in the rain does not sound
Awful.
enjoyable even a little bit. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No, for sure. So, well, I am excited to have Micheal here in the studio with us today, and I'm going to give a little introduction. Micheal Abebe grew up in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, in the vibrant neighborhood of Piazza, which really laid the foundation for his journey. He graduated from Tucker High School in Stone Mountain, Georgia, and that was just the beginning. He then pursued his bachelor's in civil engineering at Kennesaw State University, which set the path for what was to come. He started as a transportation engineer, and his dedication and expertise paved the way for him to take on this recent role that I know he just took, which is so exciting, which is Deputy City Engineer, where he offers consultancy services to various municipalities. In his role today as project manager specializing in bridge management at Georgia Department of Transportation, it allows him to provide comprehensive engineering consultation. However, beyond his professional landscape, and this is why I always love talking to Micheal, is his heart lies in the time he spends with Student Success Agency, mentoring and guiding high school students interested in diverse realms of science, technology, engineering, and math. So welcome,
Wonderful.
Micheal.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate that.
No, we're very excited to have you in the studio today. You're going to just so love talking to Micheal, Scott. He's got just he's an old soul. And he just has got so much perspective for such a young person. And I've learned way more from Micheal than I've ever taught him. So I've really enjoyed my time getting to know him. So
Awesome.
I know everybody else
glad
will
you're
as
here,
well.
Micheal. Thank you. Yeah,
Thank
this is
you for
good.
having me. Appreciate that.
Again,
Well,
be
we
ready,
like to
'cause we're
start
gonna
out.
pepper you. And Linda's going to start right now. She's going to pepper you right now.
I'm going to start right
Listen to
now.
this icebreaker.
Yes,
Here we go.
This is my favorite thing, not Scott's, but that's okay. We like to kind of start out with an icebreaker, and it's if you could hang out with any cartoon character, who would it be and why?
Any cartoon characters.
Yeah.
Have you seen the movie Ants?
Yes.
I would hang out with Z.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Zeke's a good one. I never think about the movie cartoon
we can
characters.
go on a lot of journey. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one.
His ability to kind of just go with the unknown.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I like that one. That is a good one.
It'd be a good journey, right? Yeah. It's
Absolutely.
the worst that can happen.
Right. Yeah,
That's right.
exactly. No, that's so true. I like that. That's a good one.
Really
Mr. Montgomery, what about you? Are you sticking with your usual, or are you going to change it up today?
You know, I never gave the movie genre any kind of
me neither.
consideration in the cartoons. And there was a really cute movie that came out a few years ago that had the different personalities as cartoon characters.
Oh, yeah.
What was that called?
It's not Elemental, right? Because that's the new one. It was something, but I know what you're talking about. It was all the emotions.
No,
it came out a while ago. It's been, maybe 5 or 6 years ago?
Maybe 5, yeah.
Yeah.
But there was a couple cute characters they really defined well about all the spectrums of emotion.
Yeah.
And so the characters, the main character, cartoon character, had emotion characters that came in and sort of overplayed certain areas of their life. And I thought it was really telling and sort of an interesting cartoon. Yeah. So I'm not going to go with my new. I'm not going to go with my old. I'm going to go with new. Yeah. In honor of Micheal bringing us to the millennial here with is modern day movie cartoon.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I like that.
How about you, Linda? What's yours? Yeah.
Well, if we're going to kind of go that route, I might want to hang out with, so I love Marvel and DC, thanks to my husband and my son. So I think, if I was going to hang out with someone, maybe Robin might be interesting because, he lives in the shadow of Batman and always trying to break free from that. And it might be interesting to kind of understand him a little bit, like what drives him and what motivates him. So yeah. I like that.
I like it. That ice is so broken now, Linda.
So broken.
I love it.
So, Michael, you should be totally relaxed now and ready to jump into all the hard stuff where we're going to ask you about your childhood and all your trauma in your life. No, I'm just kidding.
We should talk about the book too, Linda.
Yes. And we always have to do a shameless plug of Scott Montgomery, his book, and the whole reason, which is how did we get here? Honestly, that's what started this podcast. So, no, it's very fun. But well, let's jump in a little bit though. Michael, why don't you tell us about D.I.M.E and what influenced you to initiate it?
So D.I.M.E started in August, and that came about where majority of the time, people in my background not having the information to maneuver in the corporate world.
Yeah.
And I got the opportunity to get mentorship early on in my career when I was in college, when I was interning. So I was privy to the interview process or even salary negotiation, things of that nature that majority of people that I was around with were not privy to. And as I was going through the career transition this year, I was blessed, to be in position I was in. And I was like, what could I give? How would I, help somebody in my position?
Yeah.
I don't have those kind of information to make a career transition midway in 3 to 5 years in their career, right?
Yeah.
From having an engineering background to go to a PM role. So pretty much created this mentorship network, right? Where I would, reach out to senior level managers, executives to give their free time or whatever time they have to kind of have conversation, right?
Yeah.
Everything comes with conversation. And with early career students, not just early people, you have students that are going to college as well, interns, right? And so far, that's been going pretty well. And that's how the whole conversation started. Is pretty much creating a relationship, right?
Yeah.
The questions that a person that just graduated college that may have, and the senior level can answer it. I was in your position once, right? And before that, you don't have that. The majority of the time, where I was at in my career, I didn't know that you can have a conversation with these people, right? You just apply and hopefully you get that call or email for the interview. And whatever thing that they offered you, you kind of took it, not knowing, right?
Yeah.
Having no leverage to maneuver in that world. So pretty much just having given information, right? It was missing. There was 2 dots I had to connect. And I went through it myself mid-career. We had this conversation a while back. And not figuring out what to do next, right? Kind of, I have a design background and I come from the technical aspect of engineering, and to a certain extent I didn't see myself doing that for a long period of time. And I want to maneuver to the PM role where I'm able to see a bigger picture, and I was not getting that opportunity. So they looking at it like, oh, you have to put in 15, 20 years in design just for you to get that. So which is totally understandable, but I didn't stop. So I kept going, and it only took a couple of people to look at it. Like, maybe we can train him, We don't need to put 15 to 20 years design where we can just give him, 5 to 6 months of hey, you already have the design background.
Yeah.
How could he be a PM in that aspect, right? Look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So I was given the opportunity to just kind of give him back, there is an option out there. You don't have to go through what I went through, It's very cliche, but it's
well, what you did,
conversation,
and what you did is actually really in theme with a lot of what we talk about, and that is the networking and the relationship pieces. And they're so critical to the next generation. What is D.I.M.E? What does the acronym D.I.M.E stand for? And what exactly do these chief executive officers or these senior level folks? Let's get tactical. Do they give an hour a week? Do they give a once and done? How does that work? Are you creating mentoring relationships?
So the acronym, to answer your question, stands for Diversity and Inclusion for Minority Engineers.
Okay.
And as far as the time goes, we would host a once a month happy hour or lunch and learn kind of thing. And I would invite, people in my circle or that work in different firms as well early on in their career, and they will come as well and kind of have a very casual conversation. If they
Great.
have any question or any opportunity within the firm, or if they can make a transition, it's open conversation. It's nothing you hold them back. It's like if you need, if you have questions on, for instance, in my field, a bridge design project that another firm is working on. It's like, oh, like, when is that project due? I've done something like that. Would I be transitioning that? Like, so very open, but not formal at all. So they're giving you straight, there's no HR in between, there's no supervisor. So
Good.
they're giving you an honest conversation. So which we miss majority of that in, in my world at least, right? There's always this formal way to go, which is good, but it doesn't give you direct majority of time. So
if I may highlight what I think I'm hearing, which is really a theme that I really embrace, and I know Linda does as well, it's not truly what you know, but who you know. And quite frankly, the next piece of that is because of who you know, you tend to get better at what you can do in that genre. And I think that is such a critical thing for the next generation to understand, because we're all going to time out on product knowledge, but we're going to be here for a fine amount of time with each other in life. So those relationships can really leverage new learning and a repository of, oh yeah, I met with somebody, that person might be good in the future. So you always have this sort of back and forth thing going. And it's so important to highlight that, because that's really how we got here, ironically, right? And it's also how I got into my career. I talk about the networking piece. And if there was something like you're talking about available, I would have been all over that. As a matter of fact, in learning about what you're saying, we are going to talk about that offline and what we can do on a different coast or different areas of the country where we can host those kind of events. And not make it about a promotion within the C-suites company, but make it about what did you do to get there? And here are some names of people interested in your genre of work. That's really interesting to me because it's so organic.
Well, and I'm curious, Micheal, what gave you the courage to, because I remember when you and I talked about this when you were, after you kind of launched it, you were a little nervous, like, was anybody going to show up? And so what gave you the courage to do that and really kind of reach out to those individuals?
Most of them were, people I've worked with in the past that, knew me kind of, and had, in different meetings that different projects that I worked on in my past. So some of them were very open to it. Some people didn't have the time to kind of give back. But the courage really came on. It wasn't enough, whenever you have something, like I'm thankful, right? And I was in position, but doing my day job and being in that position was not enough for me. It was not fulfilling, right? So it's like, if I have all this information and if I'm not able to share it with the people that I knew or other people that are actually going through it, it just kind of defeats the whole purpose. Yeah, it's nice to have, to make a decent income, have a career job that you actually enjoy.
Right.
But what is it if you're not sharing it with people, right?
Or
I don't need to be a CEO or exec to be in that position. My regular job, mid-level, PM level, I can share whatever little knowledge that I have with people around me.
To help them get there.
So that kind of gave me,
because that people aren't exposed to the intel. And like you, it wasn't enough for me to be mid-level management. I needed to be in the C-suite. So I did that for myself at my own company with the expertise of bouncing off of other folks that have done that, truthfully. So it is really important what you're saying. Even if you're settling for a different level of job for yourself, or you're aspiring for a different level of job that isn't always C-suite, knowing someone who's done it and working with someone organically like you're talking about is really the magic of what Linda and I are trying to do. I mean, this is fascinating to listen to because it is about share. It's not about you have to share it because you can do it. It's about exposing people to opportunities so they can decide where they want to aspire to go.
Absolutely.
No,
and I bet the
totally
C-suite
agree.
you're reaching out to probably loves that if they're halfway decent.
That's it. That's right. If they're worth their weight, then I totally agree. Well, and kind of thinking about that. So tell us a little bit about what you think is the difference between partnerships and relationships, and kind of why are those important to you?
Both are very important, you know. It's because of relationships I got in the position that I'm in, right? Um, People knowing who you are, right? Character comes before the resume that you have on there.
Oh, I like that.
You
Say
know,
that again.
GPA can
Character
be
comes
high
before the resume.
before the resume.
Love
And it's true
that.
because
Yeah, that's a
really,
good
when you
one.
look at it,
That is a
you can
good one.
have a 3.8, 3.9 GPA, the whole technical background, but if you don't have the willingness to actually work with people, right? It really comes down with can your coworkers tolerate you? Can you work in
Yeah.
a team environment?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
all that don't really matter. I mean, knowing some technical aspect of it, of course, it will matter. But if you're not able, you don't have the skill to work with people.
Yeah.
I would say that's like 80% of the work skill that we need.
Yeah. I
It
agree.
don't really matter. So, and people really do judge
Yes, they do.
how much we don't admit it. So your name really comes when you're not in a room. Who is really representing you in those kind of rooms, right?
Yeah.
When your name come up, oh, how is he? How, you know, is it to work with him? Is it good to work
Yes.
with him? So that really definitely is a great thing to have as far as relationships considered. Partnership, you know, having a vision that align, right? Like a
Yeah.
tip with that kind of thing. Like if you have not 100%, but if one person is good at one thing, the other person is good at another thing,
Yeah.
kind of finding ways to put those two together and, you know, knowing the ultimate goal to succeed, right?
Like a
It
kite
could
and a
be very
string.
small thing, could be a lot bigger. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So both are
Absolutely. The
very
kite and the
important, I
string.
would say. Yeah.
No, I like that. Well, and so with thinking about that, so now
Mhm.
you're also doing this work as a student success agent. So
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that and what drew you to that, doing that type of work as well.
So that came about September of last year, actually. So I was just hiking with a friend of mine, and we just had this conversation. He's like, "Hey, like, what do you want to do beside work, right? Like, are
Yeah.
you happy?" Like, yeah, she was in higher ed, and like, yeah, I love my, you know, engage with my students, and I enjoy it. But it's like, I ask her, like, is that enough? Like, what else
Yeah.
could you possibly do, like, in that free time that you do have? And she's like, you know what, Mikhail, like, I'm involved in this program. You'd be nice for it. But I just told her, I'm an engineer by nature. I don't think I'll be good with high school students, you know, like
Yeah.
what information could I possibly offer them? Should I just go ahead, apply for it, and yeah, you know, you have this. The interview was very interesting. It was more of character based,
Okay.
so they give you these scenarios. It wasn't more of like what I've done in my past.
Yeah.
So the manager at the time, and you know, he, he just asked me like very scenario questions, like I think you'd be good for it. And they started off with like 20 students, and then it went up. Currently, I have 174 active students
Wow.
Wow.
on my roster. So it ranges between Connecticut, Florida, North Carolina, and Arizona and Vegas.
That's
Okay.
So it's
fantastic.
all over kids with different backgrounds. So it's not strictly just with academia that you're dealing with, right? Then you have
Right.
to worry about their mental health as well.
Sure.
Yes. Yeah.
So
No,
they are
definitely.
really going through a lot of stuff. Like compared to what when I was in high school, things
Mm-hmm.
have changed what kids go through. I mean, we're
Yes.
not going to get in depth with what
But it's
the
true
things that
because we
social
talk
media can
about that
affect on them,
too.
but yeah.
But no, you're
Uh-huh.
absolutely right because Scott and I relate with that as well because what we went through as kids was different than what you went through as well because
Mhm.
our
Yeah.
worlds were much smaller than the
Mm-hmm.
worlds that you all are growing up in today. And
Yeah.
so you're right, each person's experience is a little bit different in what you're
Mhm.
exposed to and the things that you have access to and the information that you're
Most
receiving.
definitely.
It's different and it's interesting too that you recognize that as well to say, things were this way when I was in high school. And
Mhm.
there's no doubt in my mind you went through a lot in high school,
Mhm.
knowing where you are in your life. And I know for us, like what we probably went through, like I remember thinking about when I was in grade school, it was like you got in trouble for not raising your hand before asking a question or chewing gum in the
Yeah.
classroom.
Yeah. Chewing
Those
gum.
were I wasn't worried about active shooters or internet or
Mm-mm.
cybersecurity bullies or any of
Yes.
the
Yeah.
stuff that's
Mhm.
happening that you all have been exposed to through your lifetimes. And so it is kind of interesting when you put things in perspective,
Yeah.
what each of us have gone through generationally for
Yeah.
sure.
Mhm. Most definitely. Yeah.
Yeah,
And just you know
no.
finding ways to understand them better. I actually learn more from them, if anything, really.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, it's very fulfilling.
Oh,
Keeps you
that's
busy, of
awesome.
course, but
Are you doing these?
nevertheless, it's priceless.
Are you doing these virtually or are they on site? Since you have
so strictly it's virtual, yeah.
It's virtual.
It's all virtual, yeah.
All right. Well, I can tell you already, I'm gonna want to
check-in,
sponsor one. So we're gonna talk about this. I can
Yeah.
tell you
For
already,
sure,
I'm
yeah.
I'm into
That'd
that.
be wonderful,
All
yeah.
about relationships and networks,
Yeah.
Michael, right? So,
Yeah.
so no, I think that's really good. Well, one of the things that I've always enjoyed talking with you about is about building good habits and how important that is and finding that balance. And you have some really unique perspectives on balance in your life, even from what's most important to you financially and materially, and then emotionally. And so, can you talk a little bit about that, about building good habits and kind of some of those things that are important to you?
Yeah, but to get to that, it didn't click to me at first, right? I had to go through a lot of
Yeah.
things for me to get to the point I'm at. So just disclaimer.
So you're
growing up,
saying you were
just
perfect to begin with? Is that what you're
Wait,
telling me,
what?
Michael?
Wait,
Yeah.
what? That's
I-
not who we
You
have on
had
this
to grow
podcast.
and learn.
Wait, what? Wait, we got stop the rolling.
You're right, stop the podcast. That's right. We only have perfect people.
Wait, I
on
did not know this
podcast.
was going to come up this way.
Yeah, like I'm sure a lot of kids in high school can relate to this, right? And I come from what you wear really kind of sets status,
Mm-hmm.
the school that you go to, and
Yeah.
I was a victim of that. So I really bugged my mom to buy me brand new pair of shoes a lot. So I ended up collecting. At one point, I had over 300 pair of shoes. This is when I was in high school,
Wow.
and that really made me like they gave you the confidence, right, who you are. And as
Yeah.
I went to college and the person I am now, I look at it like the material, right? I had to go through that. So the material thing that we possess right now, I'm not being like, we shouldn't own anything or not like
Yeah.
that, but with modesty, right? Like knowing what we need and what we want, kind of separating that.
Yeah.
And I had to go through that to get to the stage I'm at. And now I'm pretty aware of the things that I do need and I want. So I can separate that too. And as far as creating, small habits, I have like the 30-day rule. I'll try something new, and if I see a change and I'm able to sustain it, the key word is sustaining it, right?
Yeah.
Because we can start like a small diet or a routine, and whenever we feel bad or we stress, we go back.
Yes.
So it's a thing like, can I
I
sustain it
don't.
through
I
all
don't do
emotion?
that. I don't
Right.
do
Yeah.
that.
Scott's
You a leak.
yeah.
Just so
Yeah.
no.
He's an enigma for sure.
Yes. I mean, if I screw it up, I screw it up big time. I go worse than I was when I started.
Right. I know. It's so true. It is.
Sorry,
I like
Michael,
that 30
please.
day. Yeah.
No, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
And to kind of piggyback off what you said, Scott, it's kind of like knowing what sustainable habit I can have, right?
Yeah.
One example I can give you guys is during the pandemic, we tried a bunch of things because we work remotely.
Yeah.
And one of the things I had a bet with my friends was like to stop drinking soda, right? And it's like kind of be aware of the added sugar that we put in our body.
Yeah.
And we did that for a year, and I found out like I could sustain this. Like it's pretty I can do this, right? So
Yeah.
since then, I kind of, I'm on my year 3 now. So, just starting off something small, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you finding out ability to kind of, not saying start off like with something huge, like, oh, I'm never going to do this ever again. Not like
Yeah.
that, but just try something small. And if you see a change in a positive way, right?
Yes.
And you're able to sustain all the emotion that life brings us, then I think you should keep whatever habit that is. Yeah.
Michael, what you're saying there, I think we've talked about Linda a few times, and I hate to be a broken record on our own show, but these are SMART goals: specific, measurable,
Yeah.
achievable. I forget the R and the T. Time bound, and what's the R? Reachable.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Something. I mean,
I'm
I should know
impressed you
because-
remembered the T this time, because usually it's the T he can't remember. And so, but today it's the R that he can't remember.
But what you're talking about is really important for people to realize in setting goals that, and I think you were right. And it's here, there are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and
that's it,
time bound.
Yeah.
And when you said measurable, like you said, are very specific. It's about soda. And it's about taking that out now and then maybe compounding on that later rather than starting with the big Trojan horse before you even, and that's specific. So I like what you're saying there. And it's really something our audience should relate to as they move through partnerships and habits and setting these goals, these little things that are doing, you sound right in line with. And it sounds like very affirming. What you're doing about paying it forward in these areas is very much in line with what Linda and I believe is the case as well.
No,
it's
I
really
Yeah,
interesting to
agree.
just
hear.
finding different ways to fulfillment, I guess. Like,
It is, yeah. It's
to
a
feed our
balance like
soul.
we were
Yeah.
talking about, which is kind of why you started doing things like D.I.M.E and the student success is because
Love it.
you were trying to find something else in
Mhm.
your life. Now, some other people might find, a different hobby instead of adding an additional layer of work to their plate. But for you, this is like a way that you have found balance. That was something that was really important to you to go out and seek that out. So you've got, here's my career and what I'm doing over here, but here's this other part of me that's part of my life. This is a little bit different. So
Well, they map
Yeah,
really well.
definitely.
they
Mhm.
do.
Just in
Yeah.
talking about this, you're 174 participants.
Mhm.
What is it that are they attracted to you for? Clearly what you're saying is clear and
Yeah.
concise and measurable and good and common, and so common people forget to do these things. But
Yes.
how are you mapping with what you're doing with these people, and how are they finding you?
Yeah. That's a great question.
So I do like a Monday morning check-in and to see how they're doing, and kind of the conversation will go out throughout the week. Some students, they can be so busy that, sometimes you have to really ask them, like, how are you doing? To them, it's two things. If you ask them, how are you? Probably, you're not going to get much from it, but
Mm-hmm.
ask them again, they're going to tell you whatever they're going through, right?
Where does it
And
start? Where does it start? How did you meet them?
so you get assigned, and the program is to Student Success Agency. They would assign you according to the field that you are in.
Oh, it's an agency
So
that exists. Okay.
yes, so
So it's
all
a
the students
pairing.
that I end up, yes, so all the students I end up getting paired to are pursuing a STEM program, which is science, technology, engineering, and math.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, so
great.
I don't have any students that are pursuing nursing or anything like that. Most of them are in the engineering, software engineering, civil, mechanical, in that field.
So
Yeah. That makes a lot of
D.I.M.E is
sense.
yours. Is that true?
Diamonds, yes,
Yeah.
And then
yeah,
Student Success Agency is a place that you can map your skill set with the desires of people already
mhm,
engaged in that program. And then D.I.M.E is
yeah,
an offshoot. So you've developed D.I.M.E
yeah,
because it's more specific, if we will, to what you're trying to
yes,
accomplish. That's awesome. And
Yeah.
do you
yeah.
find,
Diamond
Yeah.
is more, for students that are in college, late college, and like early career.
okay,
Yeah. No, that
Yeah.
and
makes
you're
a lot of
finding those
sense.
guys how at D.I.M.E?
LinkedIn is a great source.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much, people hear about it, they could refer. So as time went on, when we had these meetups, people would just bring their friends
Great.
and kind of like
Word of mouth.
yeah, like
Yeah.
word to mouth, and kind of expanded on its own. Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
the website for D.I.M.E?
I don't have a website for it yet. I'm still working on it.
Okay.
Currently I'm one man army for it. So
One man army. Is
yeah,
it so you're on LinkedIn? Is that where people would reach out to you from listening today?
yeah.
So
hmm
Micheal Abebe
On
at,
LinkedIn, yeah.
at LinkedIn. Is there a
Yes.
fee to join D.I.M.E?
Zero fee.
Wow. So this is
Yeah.
philanthropic.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
is just out of the goodness
100%.
of
It's
Michael's heart.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful. And have you
It's
found that a lot
100%
of
free.
people
So yeah.
have you found a lot of people are missing that step in their career of having those connections and relationships that really propel you forward? Is that really
Most
something?
definitely. In engineering, we have this like a stigma of we're antisocial. We can't
Yep.
have conversation with people,
Mm-hmm.
and you rarely get early career engineers to have this conversation. All they know is design, and math. Like just
Yeah.
that's it. That's all life is about. So
Interesting.
having that conversation for them, like putting them in that position.
Yeah.
Hey, talk about work. You're free now. Like
Sure.
have this conversation with senior level managers, right? And it's
Yeah.
okay. You speak your mind, right? Find ways to implement things better.
I like
So
that.
given that opportunity would definitely change it. I would say a lot of people's
Awesome.
point of view that they have
Yeah, because
toward
I think
engineers. Yeah.
you do not have the typical personality of an engineer. Like when you and I first started talking,
Yeah.
and you told me what your background was, I would not have assumed engineering, right? Because you're right. There's a stigmatism that is attached to engineers that they are not
Mhm.
social people, and that a lot of times too, they're not. There's a stigma that they're not good people, and so it's kind of nice to help
Yeah.
break out of that, because we do have a tendency throughout life, we get caught up in these stereotypes, so if you're
Oh,
in
for sure.
that group, then we're just assuming this about people, and so I
Yeah.
think that's what's neat about this is it kind of starts to break that stigmatism for sure.
very
Yeah.
technology-driven people the old technology people are curmudgeon-y, and the new technology people are doing what you're doing. So I'm glad to hear that called out.
No, it's
because
true.
it's not just engineers in those areas too. It's technology leaders are also labeled as curmudgeon-y, and so it's really got some room for growth. Yeah.
It does.
For sure. Most
I
definitely,
agree.
especially in that realm. Yeah.
Well, and our producer Logan let us know it was Inside Out. That was the name of the movie.
Yes, Inside Out. Thank you.
Yeah, I had to bring that back home so we could let our audience.
It was Inside Out, and it was those 5 characters.
Yes,
we digress. Sorry, Michael. Just when we hit the peak of D.I.M.E.
I know. Had to circle it back around to Inside Out. So yeah, absolutely. No, but
I'm just so impressed with this.
Yeah, no, it's amazing the stuff that you're doing. And I'm wondering, so talk a little bit about mentors and talk about who has been, like who have been those mentors in your life.
I grew up in a very religious household. Okay. So my brother-in-law, he's the priest at the church that I attend to. So he definitely played a huge part as far as who I am as a person.
Yeah.
It's not just in a religion aspect, not just that, but just in life.
Yeah,
right?
life. Yeah, exactly.
One thing he always told me was having self-control, right? And being disciplined with the things, like not letting just control who you are, right?
Yeah.
For instance, if you have to study overnight, right, and you're exhausted, but tell yourself that you're in control of this, right?
Yeah.
Just control the moment. You can only control yourself. So that always been one of the things that he taught me. And I'm very close to my mom. I was raised by a single mom, so and she's very active in my life, always been. And so those are the two people I would say kind of helped me out in my early on to this date. And I have, great mentors, Linda here. I have, conversation with her and just, teaching me about a lot of things, really, how to have more confidence, like to really speak my mind. So I do take the time out right now to thank Linda for this. Yeah.
Well, how do you guys know each other? Let's unpack that a little bit, Linda. Doing good around the world.
Let me tell you. So interestingly enough, back when I had a position posted here at UKG, Michael reached out to me via LinkedIn to ask me about the position. And while his background certainly wasn't aligned with what we were looking for, to Michael's point, I do believe in character before skills and resumes and that sort of stuff. So I want to understand a little bit more. So Michael and I connected and we started to talk about it. And I said, you know what, let's go through the process because you can learn skills, right? You can't teach personality. You can't teach character. And so as we went through, that's how we got to know each other. And while Michael didn't end up coming to work for me, I actually think that was a good thing because the position Michael is in today, I think is so much more better suited.
Wonderful.
And sometimes it's just about the doors that open at the right time when you walk through them. But because of that, we developed a friendship and a mentorship with each other. Because like I said, I learned so much from Michael. He's wise beyond his years. And so we have, through that, and his courage to reach out to me and just inquire about the position grew into us going through the process. And I think what Michael appreciated in our conversation was that I just gave him a chance. And I think by giving him that chance, it maybe helped a little bit on the confidence side to say, so you don't have to put yourself in one box. There's many opportunities out there. Sometimes you just got to be, got to reach out there. So.
Oh, most definitely. So that definitely, forever thankful for that. No. Forever, I'm thankful.
No, I am as well. I think it's just amazing. It just talks to the power of relationships and network. And
that's where Linda and I started as well. I remember when Linda and I met, it was different in that we were trying to partner with UKG. And one of the things we both said and agreed to in our first meeting was, geez, you don't feel quite ready and you're not quite ready for us. And we're not quite sure where things are headed. And that transparency transcended a few years into that phone call that says, hey, time to reengage and let's move forward, which then led us to, hey, let's pay forward the things that we're talking about in leadership like we are today. And so all these things just continue to roll. And it's such an important thing to highlight what you two did. And I love, Michael, that you just reached out to her on LinkedIn because so much happens in the direct message world these days that it cannot be overlooked because those are the things that will traject you into something you had no idea you could or wanted to do with people that you want to do it with.
Yeah.
I've worked with
Totally
people
agree.
for 20, 30 years. Some of them are on my payroll because that's who I want to do work with.
Yep.
Not because they bring a skill set. I've made people work in the job they have just so they could have a job together, to your point, Linda and Micheal. And it sounds like you landed in a different spot. So what are you doing now that's from a day perspective that's not volunteer?
Currently I'm a PM for my day job. Yeah, I'm a PM for transportation, which is in the state of Georgia.
Oh, that's right. You said that in the
So
bio.
yeah, so they are our clients, but I'm a private consultant with AECOM.
Okay.
So
Great.
we have that contract. So I'm part of the
wonderful
bridge program here.
Yeah, doing more of what Micheal wanted to do, which was project management. So
yeah.
No,
and learning those
really
skills
good.
will transcend anywhere you want to take your career too. So you've got another 30 years to work, it sounds like, on a normal pay scale of things. So good for you for hitting it early. Yeah,
absolutely. Micheal, talk a little bit about how you kind of set and maintain goals for yourself. Like I know you talked a little bit about your 30-day rule, but talk a little bit more about how you discipline yourself to be able to do all the things that you do and still kind of find a balance in your life.
It's always going to be a challenge. It's not going to be a smooth ride to kind of finding balances because life is just unpredictable.
Yes.
But for me,
yeah,
it is very unpredictable because you can't have I'll do this when this happened because it's different ways you can approach life.
If you wait for that, it'll never come about. You're absolutely right.
That is very challenging. And I always look at on a weekly basis, I do my best to kind of see my efficiency when I do things. It could be work or just in life, right? It could be going to a grocery store. Could I have done any better, right? So it's kind of like living in my head, which is to a certain extent kind of bad. I don't advise anyone to do that, but I just dissect things how can I make things better? And eating healthy. And I always been I played soccer all my life, so I've never been too out of shape ever, but I'm kind of aware of what I do, so in that realm of it. And I'll ask myself, if I'm not doing this right, what is the alternative?
Yeah.
And the alternative really scares me, so I don't give myself any choice but to do that.
Yeah. I like that. No, I think
I have to do it. The alternative is I look at it such in a bad way, like me going backwards.
Yeah.
Valid.
I'd rather, so yeah.
No, it's a really good point.
For you though, your training, Scott?
Yeah, no, I'm not afraid.
Scott, talk a little bit about your training.
Well, I'm not afraid to get off my diet, and I'm not afraid to eat anything. That just comes with age. So you being afraid, I can't really correlate with. When my body starts to get squishy, it gets easier to get squishier.
You can have cheat days, but doing it for a long period of time.
Oh no, you can do it I could do it for a long period of time too.
It's the beauty of youth versus when we get to our age, where we're just like, do I care that much? No, I'm going to eat that other piece of pie. So yeah, no, I think it's true. But I hear what you're saying. It is about that discipline that
Well, Micheal, it is funny too, and Linda, about the discipline. I will say that I have to put a race at the end of as I get older, I get weaker in the discipline because there are other competing priorities that are I'm less hungry for my career. I'm less, Maslow's theories, and you brought those up earlier, fed and watered and emotionally stable. I've got a family, I've got a job, I've got a little money in the bank. The fight becomes a little different. So as we get older and we get a little squishier in some of our requests of this life, it gets easier to fall out of shape is the first place for me to say, I'm just going to get that cupcake because it tastes good. And I'm 55 years old now. Mm-hmm. But what I will say is the races, and you're asking about my training, they help me realize that's going to make that race not much fun. If I eat that cupcake and I'm carrying the 15 pounds around my waist, it's just not going to be as much fun. Yeah. And I perpetuate then, because of the race and the discipline, if I can't go for a 5 mile today and I don't want to run when it's dark, I'm still going to go for a 3 miler real quick, because that will also keep that cupcake out of sight and out of mind.
And you're still doing something. So even though you might modify and adapt, and I think that comes with age too, because I know I was much more disciplined when I was younger too, and much more to your point, Michael, like there were things where I'm like, gosh, if I don't do this, it is going to set me back. And so I was probably more focused. And I think that as you get older, you do start to kind of look at what your priorities are and what's more important to you. Because even thinking about family, which I know is really important to you, Michael, I know it's important to Scott and myself, is thinking about, okay, and this was something I sacrificed a lot for away from my family when I was younger because I was so driven and that it was like it was work. And now as I've gotten older, I'm trying to figure that out, that it's not all about the job. It is so important for me to take that time to pay attention when my husband is asking me a question or when my son needs something or, you know, things like that. I think that, but that some of that doesn't come until you experience life a little bit. But certainly that's what I love about what we're doing is to say, like, find that balance earlier, because the sooner you can find that balance, then you're not 55 years old and learning things that you wish you would have learned when you were 35 years old. So
well, and I think the insecurities for Linda and I both not finishing our college degrees made us fight even harder for feeling devalued if there was going to be a layoff. Before we had savings, before we had ourselves a little bit more set up at our age, we had to fight and have a little more grit, which is a lot of who you're talking about are members of your organization at D.I.M.E. So for what we're trying to say is in this podcast and talking to you guys like you and potentially getting involved in what you're talking about, like I said, supporting D.I.M.E. and all that. The thing is, if we can teach it to you just a little earlier, this next generation, our generation is lifting our parents and our kids because the baby boomers were lifting themselves and that was it. You guys don't need to learn to lift us and the next generation. If you could just learn to take care of yourself, we've set you up pretty well. But if you don't take care of yourself, to your point about not being so thirsty all the time and balancing all these activities, you will have a better, more successful life. And ours isn't so bad, having lifted both sides of that. I know that sounds deep and all that, but it's really what I think Linda hit on, which is now that we're a little older, doesn't have to mean when we're a little older. It can be your generation that picks up on this. Can be your
generation, and finding that, Doesn't mean you don't still work hard, right? Because we do have to work hard. Nothing in life is free, and you've got to work hard, and you've got to be disciplined. You can't have your cake and eat it too. But I do think that you can find a good balance in all of that, where maybe you aren't making so many sacrifices at a young age that then you're kind of look back at an older age and gosh, and like I don't have regrets, but as much as it is to look back and go, maybe if I would have taken just a slightly different path, or maybe if I would have met a Micheal Abebe and went to D.I.M.E. and I would have had someone to help me. Maybe it's a little less scary throughout all of that process.
A little less cortisol. And, I found that my relationships absolutely offered that. So I think that's one of my attractions to what we've been talking about with you, Michael, is the awareness of those relationships. And, I had Pat DeLella, I had Julie Harner, I had Jim Kilroy, I had a bunch of people. As a matter of fact, I felt so compelled to share their story. And it's not a shameless plug, it's a true fact. That, relationships are really how I did get through all this because I didn't have the degree.
Well, they're paramount to your success, right? Because
I think they're paramount to everybody's success.
To everybody. When you make those relationships, because the relationships you make today, Michael, those are the ones, that carry you later in life, because you'll look back and you'll say, if you needed something like, hey, if there was something I could help you with, you would know it would be, you could reach out to me. You now have a new connection in Scott, those sorts of things. And so it's nice to be able to build that network of people around you so that so life doesn't have to be so hard, because sometimes it does feel really, really challenging for sure.
Find ways to make it simple.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the things to
make it simple?
I'm sorry. I jumped. I'm a little delayed, but I'm just so excited. What are your next steps with D.I.M.E? Do you have any goals or objectives with how you want to reach the next generation of people outside your 175?
Beside, honestly, right now, I'm just focusing on just in Atlanta. I don't have the network or power to kind of, eventually I want to get to different states where I can host events and reach out to, the HBCUs and, technical schools that are out there, or, give them this, provide this information that we have, and take volunteers from different engineering firms and have them reach out as well, vice versa, and have this program be a lot bigger than what it is now.
Yeah.
Great.
So yeah, it's always going to room to grow, always. In this aspect, I was able to connect the dots, just small dots, but thinking a lot bigger, taking it nationally. You know, there's another group actually, National Society of Black Engineers, but it's not free. There's a membership that's involved. With me, it's strictly just there's no payment. You just show up and be genuine and be ready to give back and give information that you have throughout your career to the young engineers that don't have nothing.
I love this.
Coming out of college, if you don't do any internships, I promise you, most people don't know nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
true. I mean, the college, you give your degree, but like you're not going to have.
It's all about work experience. I totally agree with you. Yeah, we talk about that frequently, and not to diminish a college education, because especially in fields like engineering, which are very specialized, and you actually do need to have that type of educational background. But you're right. All that does is it gives you knowledge. What it doesn't give you is applied knowledge. Like, how do I now take what I learned and actually incorporate that into the world that I live in? Because you hear so many times of college students who get degrees and they never use those degrees. They're doing something that has nothing to do. And I think you're right. Making those connections, especially like an organization like D.I.M.E, we're starting to think about that and creating those internships and figuring out, because it also helps you know, is that the field I really want to go into? Because that's another side of it. You can put all this time and investment and money into getting that degree and then find out, I hate engineering. Because once I find out what engineering really is, I'm like, wow, I don't really like this. And so maybe if you found that out earlier by doing a little applied knowledge, you could switch gears. So.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised. Most people don't even have no idea that they can do internship their sophomore or junior year.
Yeah.
They feel like they have to wait until graduation to like, I know that information. They wouldn't know it. So, you'd be surprised how many people are like, oh, I can intern while I'm in college. Like, yeah, there's free internship, there's paid internships.
Right.
So you'd be surprised how many people don't have that information. So giving them that it's a life-changing experience. It can really change the rate that their career could be going as well.
Yeah.
It can affect the entry level they're going to be getting into, having that in their resume.
Absolutely.
Well, and I think that's a critical thing too, to complement what Linda and you were talking about in that, especially what Linda was saying. When I graduated, and I just finished my degree from a personal request, I met a lot of students that were younger than me, because I'm an old man now, but I got my degree in a classroom full of people who, the minute they graduated, said, I need to go get a job in X skill set because that's what I just got my degree in.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they didn't realize is that skill set will expire, especially in technology, very, very soon.
Mm-hmm.
In another year or two, that skill set is going to be useless. So if you don't apply what we've been talking about in the job you get with that skill set, you won't be given the opportunity to graduate the skill set with the people you've established relationships with. And that is what I'm finding isn't being taught in colleges, to your point.
No.
They get this job and they're laid off 2 years later, and they're like, well, geez. And a lot of the millennial kids that I met with all think that their product knowledge is their skill set, period.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's relationships.
Yes, it is.
Networking.
Relationships, networking, all the things
Peak performance through habits and goals, communicating effectively, all those things, Michael, you sound really on point with. And Linda, I love this conversation. This is right up our alley, isn't it? I mean, for what we're trying to show our listeners.
It definitely is. No, for sure. Well, so kind of what's next for you, Michael? What are you going to do next?
A personal goal or professional?
Either one.
Either one. Personal. I have, like I mentioned earlier, I have the marathon that I'm kind of excited about.
I think that's incredible.
Put that in,
I want to hear about how you do, not your time. I don't care about your time. I want to know about how you do, how you feel when you're all done.
Yeah, most definitely. I'll definitely keep you posted on it. Professionally, taking D.I.M.E to the next level, and see the impact, the long-term impact I would have with the student success agency that I have. Currently, last semester was the first time I had students graduate, go on to the college, and I still keep in contact, although they're not involved in the program anymore. But I still have conversation with them how college life is going.
That's great.
And one of my students, you know, he literally pursued civil engineering because of me.
Good.
That's got to make you feel good.
Making a difference.
Oh, you have no idea. Like
absolutely.
That, to this day, I kind of talk to myself like, that is crazy.
Yes.
He picked it because what I told him, what I do my day to day.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's a freshman in college, New Mexico University, studying civil engineering.
That's amazing. That's
so
a good feeling.
That kind of fulfilling. I would never get that if I was not involved in those kind of programs. There's no amount of I don't know, career promotion that can fulfill that aspect of my life.
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
No,
wholeheartedly.
This
is part of what Linda and I do is trying to figure out if we're going to monetize it or if we're going to be philanthropic about it, because it's really so important to feel the feels about the work we're doing.
To get that out
there. It really comes down to how you can live your imprint on this earth.
I like that.
We're only here for a short period of time. I don't want to kill people, you guys vibe or anything, but it's like literally that's the reality.
No, it's very true. It's all about leaving your legacy, hence which is what actually prompted Scott to write the book that he did, because as he was reflecting back. Oh, did you write a book? Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, I forgot you. What is that book called? But all kidding aside, is that that was what it was leaving his legacy, leaving a mark in this world, that when you look back and you think about that person, like, what do you remember about them? And it's not going to be your job. That's not going to be what people remembered you by. It's the impact that you made on the people around you that's so important. And so I love what you're doing now, because you're right. You never know. Life is short, and it is important to think about what you're doing, I think. So no.
Well, this is great. I mean, it's such a nice thing to do. And it's funny because as we wrap up here with you, Micheal, there are 3 questions that we like to end our show with. Yes. And these are the hard ones. I told you they were coming. So hard. And we're the peppering is just about to begin. But the first one is, tell us, if you would, a common myth about the job or field of expertise you're in. Just one, a myth around what you're doing. And you can pick all the different things you're doing.
Common myth. Could you elaborate on that? A myth meaning like what?
So what do people not
assume it is?
Yeah, what do people
assume? Yeah.
And tell us like how it's not that.
Yeah.
People. So when I tell people that what I do, they think I'm the blame for the traffic in Atlanta.
Aren't you?
So automatically, no idea. So automatically think it's like, it's because of you guys. Great. I'm stuck in traffic for 40 minutes.
That's great.
I'm like, I don't work in the city. Most of my projects are like north of Georgia, which is no traffic. Very rural area.
That's a good one.
And that's all right. Really, that really happens a lot. It's like,
it is funny how people make those connections.
Public service announcement to all listening. Micheal
That's right. Micheal Abebe is not responsible for Atlanta traffic. That's right. It has been horrible for as long as Atlanta's been around.
That might be my favorite one.
No, I do. I like that one for sure.
What? That's good. That's actually a good one. Thank you for that. And what is the most important lesson you've learned over your career?
We mentioned the 2 things earlier: partnerships and relationships. And the last one I would add is just be genuine on the things that you do. Right? Don't. To a certain extent, I think once we maneuver in this corporate world, we get entangled with letting our salary motivates us.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the only drive that we have to move up the corporate ladder and whatever we have to. But I think that shouldn't be the only thing, which is nice. Everybody has their own responsibility if they need that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't need it, but I'm just saying that shouldn't be the strictly like the only one thing that you motivates you to be a good, I don't know, whatever career field you're in, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're in marketing or if you're in the engineering field.
It's true.
That shouldn't be the only thing, because once you achieve that, I think I haven't achieved it, but I've seen it.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to know to have conversation with people that already achieved and they retired, moved on, done with their corporate job, and they did well in their life. And one thing they always said is like, that wasn't they did what they supposed to do, what they thought it was right, but it was not fulfilling to them.
Yeah, you do hear that.
So a lot of from times. That I kind of learned I don't need to put 35 years, 40 years in a company to kind of understand that. So I learned that from conversation with these people that already achieved those kind of goals, and that shouldn't be the only motivation for us to be better.
Yeah,
just in humans, like just be a good person overall.
Wow, I like that.
Have good character. I think
That is wise.
It's very hard to be like that all the time, but it's possible.
I think that's it's not even expected for you to be that all the time. But I think if you do make that your quest, I think that's a great dovetail into the one lesson your job has taught you that you think everyone should learn at some point in their life. Synthesize this for us. What is the one thing you want us all to learn? That we should learn at some point in our life, because I have a feeling I know what you're going to say.
One thing that we should, that is very hard. Could you elaborate more on that, please?
Well, I think you were already touching. You were already touching on
money's not everything.
Well, that's where,
that was a piece that I remember you talking to me about early on, Micheal, was that, money is not everything. It's not important, because we all need money to live. But we live in a world that you got to have money. But it isn't. It's not the root of everything, and it certainly is not what makes you happy or successful.
Oh, most definitely. And what we see ourselves, right? We kind of, but then again, that is the society that we don't really have a whole lot of control over it. How people perceive us, according to how much we make and things of that nature. But that's very cliche. But kind of not judge a person out of that person's potential, rather than
I like
what they already have, because you can lose that, and
you can. It can be gone tomorrow. Yep.
Well, and it's where we started. Character comes before the resume is such a great tagline for our conversation today.
I love it.
It's been fantastic.
No,
to chat with
we're
you
so
and
glad
learn
to
more
have
about
you
your
here.
program. Yeah.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Yes, thank you, Micheal, and thanks everyone. Thanks, Scott. We'll look forward to hearing more about D.I.M.E. and I think both Scott and I's brains are going a little bit too, because I'm thinking about how can we connect you with UKG and what can Scott do to help you. So we'd love to see what we can do to help drive that program with you. So
thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here today.
Well, I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next time. An Unconventional Guide to Success is an inspirational, motivated series hosted by Scott Montgomery and Linda Misegadis, recorded on Riverside.fm. Music, editing, and production by Logan Misegadis. Check out Scott Montgomery's new book, How Did You Get Here, and all the helpful related materials at www.howdidyougethere.com. Thank you for joining us on our journey. If you would like to reach out to us, our contact information is in the show notes.